Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, back with another quirky video. I hope my voice isn't too monotone. I have to worry that my voice is really monotone, so sorry if it's not very dramatic as I would like it to be. And I watch other YouTube content creators like Ryan118, Celtic State of Mind, Axon, Russell Boyce and others, especially I'm talking about Celtic content creators, but even other content creators like Mark Goldridge or people like that. And I think they have really, maybe they've had training, but they have really good ways of explaining things. So I sometimes wish, or I generally wish I could talk clearly and coherently and be like them. But I suppose I have my own unique style. So I hope people out there, I hope some people out there enjoy it, or at least kind enough to lie to me and pretend that they enjoy it. But anywho, yeah, I had a bit of a lie-in today. It's like 11:15 now, but I do first take the dog for a walk about 11 o'clock or half 11, but between 11, half 11, or between 11 and 12 at least. But yeah, anyway, sorry. Sometimes I do wake up late and stuff like that, but I hopefully from tomorrow I will start waking up at 8 o'clock, like a reasonable time, so I can like go through some writing for my ideas and things like that, and hopefully positively and confidently get back to confidence with my writing. Anyway, sorry if that was a bit off topic, but I thought I'd talk about that in the intro. And please let me know how you're doing wherever you are, and anything you want to post in the comment section. Like if anyone's watching from overseas, like I'd love to hear where you're from and things like that, and how your day is, which hopefully is well, and stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, hope you check out or have checked out parts 1 and 2, and obviously this is part 3. Yeah, so here goes. So I know it's a day belated because it was Celtic's birthday yesterday. But anyway, here goes. So number 21. To recap some ideas, I would love for Celtic to like connect with fans and like maybe interview someone on the channel. Can't remember exactly if I said that one, but about interviewing them on the channel as well, connecting with them. I know I mentioned connecting with fans, but I think it'd be great if they interviewed some of them on the Celtic channel, or posted information about them on the website and things like that, and like did polls for the fans and like listen to the fans as much as possible. I know some people say like football fans shouldn't be treated like customers, but effectively that's what football fans are really. And so I think any business that's sensible should look after its customer, I'm sure, or at least appear to look after its customer, or at least appear to look after its customers' needs, perhaps. Anyway, sorry if I'm waffling, as I say. But yeah, another thing I think would be great if there is like if they connect with like the Irish diaspora even more than they currently do, and as I talked before as well about like the Celts generally from the 8 Celtic nations or countries around the world, and yeah, perhaps if they could have some on the channel and like interview them and talk about like Celtic culture and things like that, as well as like Gypsies and migrants, like maybe have some on the channel talking about their stories, and especially if they've had to migrate from different countries, like how they've migrated, how they've been treated, or what things they had to go through, for better or worse, and things like that, like their stories, basically migrant stories and gypsy stories, as well as Celt stories. I think it'd be interesting to see those sorts of things covered on the channel, and people like talking about those like Celtic culture and gypsy culture and migrants and where they're from and what their cultures are, and again what stories they've had in terms of traveling and things like that, and hopefully it'll benefit the club as well as those communities, which I suppose this video is mainly about benefiting the club, but it would be good if they benefited other people around the world as well. Number 22, I hope they can look into like the future and how to always improve like the branding, marketing, branding, and on pitch activities as well, and like off and on the pitch, like how they can improve their finances and just generally improve as a club, possibly learn from other clubs as well and things like that. Number 23, again, I think it'd be great if Celtic, if the club could generate as much money as possible, funds or whatever, to invest in things I talked about before, and like point number 10 where I talked about like the foundation and the academies and things like that, as well as buying better players. But yeah, I think it'd be cool if they get as much sponsorship money and just as much money as possible, including co-owners, shareholders, and all sorts of things like, again, connecting with shareholders and fans as well, and also continue to do, obviously, as Celtic always does, like the foundation for good, but express to the world what good work they do and things like as a club, for charity. Number 24, I also hope they could do that overseas as well in developing countries as they did in the past. Hopefully they can redo some of that work, especially after COVID. Like if people are able to travel to Malawi and places like that, and hopefully in the future, Malawi and places like that will improve so much that they won't have to do so much work there. So I hope those countries can alleviate poverty and do as well as possible. Places like Kenya as well, places like basically across Africa and Asia as well. I think it'd be cool if the club did even more work in Asia as well. And again, hopefully it'd be a mutual benefit. And also, I think it'd be cool if the club worked with the SMP. And please forgive my pronunciation of a lot of these pronunciation or whatever. But Plaid Cymru, Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin, and other Celtic/Gaelic political parties, as well as parties across Scotland as well, in Glasgow and across Scotland, and councillors and people like that. They can work with as many of those as possible, like to talk about what work the club does, how it benefits the local community and the economy of Scotland, and how they like help deprived areas, how they help with things like food banks, and help poorer people generally in Glasgow and across Scotland as well as around the world. It would be great also for the club to have a fan base all around the world. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I think it'd be cool if they could work with those parties to look at like how they can get funding from those parties, perhaps even, or support or recommendations or whatever from those parties, or how they can work together to alleviate poverty in Glasgow and like encourage young people to get into football, which again hopefully be a mutual benefit for those people as well as the club itself. Number 25, I think it'd be great if people from republics supported Celtic, given its roots and how many fans are Republicans as well. Number 26, I'd also love for anti-imperialists to support Celtic as much as possible. People of colour, as I've already mentioned, but like anti-imperialists generally supporting Celtic, I think that would be a great thing. So even people who perhaps haven't heard of Celtic, hopefully will find out about the club and its anti-imperial roots and its work with anti-racism and things like that, and the fact that they come from an Irish diaspora that was colonised. There was a point I was going to make, but I nearly forgot to say it. But this is a bit of a negative one, unfortunately, in the past, and hopefully not now, and hopefully it won't happen in the future. Hopefully the club will learn from it, which I was going to come to. But there was an abuse scandal, unfortunately, at the club, and I'm sure that's happened in many football clubs. And it's a really embarrassing moment in the club's history. So I hope the club will learn from it and also look at how to reparate the victims, compensate the victims, and things like that, and also like learn for now and in the future and make sure that sort of stuff doesn't happen at Celtic ever again. On another note, though, I think that with what happened with the Irish diaspora, however you pronounce it, when they went to Glasgow and across Scotland, as well as other parts of the UK, they suffered a lot of discrimination and they were fleeing poverty, and also the fact that Ireland was colonised itself in the first place. I think that should mean that Celtic and the other team with Irish roots that I've heard of in Scotland, I'm not sure if there are any others, but so there might be one or two others, but Hibs as well. I think it would be good if Celtic and Hibs work together to make sure that they get like reparated, get reparations for like historical things that happened in Ireland, like the potato famine, which was arguably caused by the UK government at the time, and things like that have happened to the Irish diaspora, where like they had to immigrate and they lost a lot of like they had a brain drain. Their economy really struggled in Ireland, and also like a lot of people died. A lot were tortured and abused and by the British. Well, a lot were tortured, which I suppose is a form of abuse and things like that, as far as I'm aware, if I know my history correctly. So I do think Celtic and Hibs, the Hibbies, should work together to like get reparations for the club as well. But I also think they should reparate people who have been wronged by the boys' club in the past in abusive scandals, and maybe use that money that they get to reparate those who went through that time. I don't want to focus too much on the negatives, but moving on, number 27, I think Celtic should be rewarded for all the philanthropic work which I talked about before. Number 28, I think it'd be great to have a committee or think tank also. I know I mentioned a committee or think tank which would benefit Celtic itself, but I think it'd be great if they had a committee, think tank, brainstorm, network, whatever you want to call it, and that sort of thing, which looked at how to make the world a better place generally, as Celtic normally does, but sharing ideas and things like that. Number 29, I'd love to encourage my fellow mixed race people. I know I talked about people of colours, but I'd love to encourage mixed race people specifically to work with Celtic, like against all forms of discrimination and things like that. and also neurodiverse people with dyslexia and possibly even autism, and especially with what the club does for people with Down syndrome and other conditions and other disabled conditions. I think it'd be great to have like disabled people for Celtic as well, but neurodiverse people showcasing what we could do, like dyslexics with our creativity, and people with ADHD as well, like what they can do with their creativity, or how they can be good footballers and things like with the energy they have when they're committed to something. But yeah, I think it'd be great if neurodiverse people showcase what we can do for Celtic, as well as Italian football. And like if Celtic hosted events which invited people with dyslexia and ADHD, possibly autism and other related conditions, neurodiverse conditions, to play at Celtic Park, and also maybe even from across the world, maybe even have their own like mini World Cup of people with learning disabilities or special needs or neurodiverse conditions, or whatever you call them, whatever you want to call us, as a dyslexic myself. But yeah. So basically neurodiverse people possibly working with the club to showcase what we can do and come in with ideas, maybe playing at Celtic Park, having their own 5-a-side or 6-a-side or 11-a-side games, playing on 5-a-side pitches that might be owned by the club, if it could own more 5-a-side and 6-a-side and 7-a-side pitches as well. So that's another thing to potentially fundraise for as well. And number 30, I love to hear other people's ideas, and as a fan of Celtic, if any fans of Celtic watch this video and get to the end, I'd love to know, like, what would you be prepared to donate to the club, like maybe even 10% of your earnings or wealth even to the club, if you knew it was going to, sorry, my stomach's rumbling for some reason, I don't know if you could hear that, but if you knew it was going to invest in improving the club, including the youth development and stroke for the foundation, like would you be prepared to donate to like a special bank account if the club had such, which where 10% of the money would go to buying better players, 10% would go towards youth development, 10% towards marketing and branding and things like that, including Celtic sports clubs, and 10% to the foundation. Would you be prepared to donate, and how much would you be prepared to donate if you knew the money was definitely going to go towards those things, if the club could guarantee it? And I am out. Peace and love.